Business with Stephen. Stephen, you're starting with Uber, aren't you? Some good financial news, but this is despite some big losses.
That's right. It's one of the paradoxes of the business world is that you can be a multi-billion-dollar company and still not turn a profit. There is good news in this for the ride-hailing firm, though. Their latest financial results show they're losing less money than before, and their income is going up at the same time. Throughout 2017, Uber's revenues were rising by about 10% every 3 months. In the last 3 months of last year, the company saw bookings worth over $11 billion. That's a figure that's up by over 60% in a year. Overall, in 2017, Uber had income of $7.4 billion and it lost $4.5 billion over those 12 months. It is a big loss figure, but it has been falling between the third and the fourth quarter of the year. Now, Uber isn't obliged to publish these results, but they've begun doing so because the firm is planning a stock market launch next year. They've been valued at as much as $54 billion, which is not bad for a company that doesn't turn a profit.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Now, we're going to be watching the US very closely later. This is for news on that could provoke some more turmoil for us on the markets.
These are the inflation figures for January from the US Bureau of Labour Statistics. It's important because the panic on the markets over the last 2 weeks had been provoked, at least in part, by fears of rising inflation. Faster consumer price rises means the Federal Reserve could choose to raise interest rates more quickly than expected. And that's what worries investors, is there could be a sudden end to cheap credit that everyone has become very used to. Now, the target inflation rate for the Fed is 2%. It's been hovering around that for the past year or so. There was a peak of 2.7% last February. We're expecting today's figure to be around 1.9%. Anything higher, though, could cause some ripples on the markets.
So what about the markets at the moment? How are they doing ahead of it?
European shares starting the day up at the start of the trading day. One of the games that people who watch the markets play is trying to find links between things like Valentine's Day and the stock markets. And I can tell you that retail sales, or retail stocks rather, are doing very well today. H&M is up over 3%. So if you get any H&M related gifts today, that partly might be why. Although banks are the sector that are seeing the biggest gains. So maybe you're getting a loan for Valentine's Day. Who knows? On the Asian markets today, we a bit more of a wait and see mode ahead of those inflation figures. We had fairly significant gains, though, on the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, which is trading up over 2%.
I like it. A loan just to pay for the flowers. Now, Airbus, they're preparing to put its latest plane in the sky. It could mean some big changes, though, for passengers, this, couldn't it?
The A321neo is a plane that traditionally would be of a size that would travel on shorter, medium-haul journeys, but this design will now be able to travel longer distances. That opens up the possibility of long-haul journeys from smaller airports and, crucially, cheaper flights. Solange Moujin has the story.
Updated and ready to cross the Atlantic, Airbus is hoping that their revamped A321neo will become the industry's go-to workhorse. For the single-aisle 240-seater plane now has fuel-saving engines and enough reserves to make long-haul flights.
This aeroplane has extra reservoirs. They're hidden under the baggage area. You can't see them, but they're there. This allows us to have a greater flight radius, up to 4,000 nautical miles, which allows us to do a Paris-New York flight with ease.
At $137 million a pop, over 100 planes have already been ordered, namely from low-cost airlines. Norwegian has already requested 30 of them, and it hopes to establish new routes from smaller cities.
We could offer people in Bordeaux or Nice the possibility of traveling to the U.S. on a direct flight. That wasn't possible before because we were using planes that carry up to 350 people.
The interest from low-cost carriers could lower the price of a Dubai-Beijing or a Singapore-Sydney journey. A Paris-New York flight, for example, could cost around €300. Airbus says they hope to get the green light from US and EU aviation regulators in the coming months and to get their modernized A321s up in the air by the end of the year.
And finally from Stephen, some big news in the entertainment industry. This is because Netflix has signed one of the biggest names in TV.
He's the hit-making producer behind the series like Glee. Ryan Murphy is going to join the streaming service in a 5-year deal reported to be worth as much as $300 million. Now, if confirmed, it would be one of the biggest ever deals for a TV producer. Murphy made his career at 21st Century Fox, where he created the hit shows like Glee, Nip Tuck and American Horror Story.
Okay, you should see if it pays off for them. Thank you very much, Stephen. Stephen with Business on France 24.